Tonight, dozens of Nebraska football fans are grumbling, and not about the team's record this past season. Those losses involve money they paid private promoters of game day experience. Mike McKnight has tonight's 6 on Your Side investigation.
Up in these suites,
Avid Husker fan A.J. Brink pictured himself and 3 out-of-state friends watching a Nebraska football game from a skybox.
I was under the impression the $2,000 that I paid was going towards suite tickets and that money was going to go to charities. Instead, we got some $25 tickets.
Instead of regular stadium seats, A.J. expected to watch the Minnesota game in a suite as part of a private promotion called Nebraska Game Day Experience, promoted by a group called Influence.Team.
It was absolutely not what we were sold and certainly wasn't what we were expecting.
Just before kickoff, the Minnesota Game Day Experience started with a red flag. The promoter posted a sign that due to not enough seats reserved by our benefactor, all experienced buyers are being refunded. This group paid for the less expensive packages. Each of you paid $1,000 for 2 tickets plus perks. Did any of that come true?
None of it.
No. We were promised, refund dates, I think 3 or 4 different times. There was a perk package that was supposed to come along with it.
Well, yeah, I want my money. I want my perks, too, that I was promised. Told me I was going to get perks, Yeti cooler, and custom Husker jersey.
Through his lawyer, former Husker Adam Carricker says he was never paid to be a pitch man for the Nebraska Game Day Experience. Carricker says he's deeply saddened and angry to learn numerous fans didn't get what they paid for.
We're raising money for great Nebraska charities.
The Nebraska Football Hall of Famer says he was misled into promoting the expensive ticket package after being told proceeds would go to a dozen charities, which is one reason this fan paid $1,000.
We're misled because we thought we had tickets, perks, and the money was a fundraiser for organizations that are doing great things in our community.
I contacted several charities listed that proceeds would benefit. A spokesman for the Ronald McDonald House says it's not received a donation in relation to this experience, and the Sam Foltz Foundation hasn't heard of the promotion.
I donate a lot to a lot of events and a lot of nonprofit groups, and this really makes me second guess, should I be contributing?
Most of the Nebraska Game Day Experience fans paid with credit cards last summer and are disputing charges with their banks now.
$7,000 here.
If it's not too late in the game.
It wasn't what any of us were expecting, that's for sure.
On Your Side, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
In the suite level, ended up somewhere.
In a statement, Adam Carricker says the promoter called Influence used his website and sent emails in his name without his knowledge or permission. Carricker's attorney says he sent the promotions group a cease and desist letter. One of the promoters texted that their attorney would be sending out a statement, but none so far.